as well as our YouTube page. And yes, so we are currently live and giving you radio according to Horizon Zanzi. Once more again, on a Wednesday, we are doing radio a bit differently, but at the same time doing radio in exciting ways. And I have a gorgeous lady that has joined me today. Veki na veki, we switch it up, and I mean it's a Wednesday. And I'm planning to get a woman crush yet officially has to be LUXOLO, whom is on the other side of town. And how are you doing, sis?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, we are definitely good, good. Looking gorgeous, looking gorgeous. You're looking really amazing. But let's definitely get into it. Can you kindly share your overall impression of the Rise MZANTSI manifesto after watching it during the live stream party, watch party to be exact? What aspects actually resonated with you the most?
So generally for me, the manifesto was refreshing. Being part of Rise in the Eastern Cape since it started, it was good to see that they really listened to us. And so it was showing throughout the entire manifesto, you know that you were there in the room, you were part of the community discussions, you were actually present also at the convention last year. So they really did listen to us, and it really showed in that manifesto. For me, what stood out the most was, I think it was around the topic of education. Because that's a serious problem that we do have in the Eastern Cape.
Especially when it comes to education, it's a very difficult challenge that we have, and of which I always say we will be able to overcome this challenge. Now, reflecting on the themes which were actually discussed, we manifesto. How do you think that these proposals, as well as ideas, could positively impact the challenges faced by ordinary citizens, specifically Apakute Pondwe?
Okay. So the solutions that they actually provided to the challenges that we face, especially for the Eastern Cape when it comes to education, they're realistic. They can happen in real time. And it's things that we can even start implementing even without having to be in government, if we really do start doing the work on the ground. So I felt that they were feasible, and they really, we didn't talk about long, 20-year long plans to change things around our issues, right? The issues that we have now in the Eastern Cape, they need change now. They need to be attended to now. And so our manifesto did address them in that way.
Interesting. Our manifesto, I love how you're owning it, actually, bringing it home. Now, were the specific moments, or in fact, proposals within the manifesto that actually sparked conversations or in fact discussions during the watch party? And also, I'd love, Bangabake, if you could actually just elaborate on any notable points that stood out for you or even Abanyamand who were there.
All right. So one of the big ones that did actually spark a conversation, it was when they spoke about foreign nationals and really having a way of accounting for the people that are actually in our communities. When they come into South Africa, we need to account for the non-South Africans that are living amongst us, because now we're living with people that we don't know who they are, we don't know where their money is going. And so it's quite real, because they are really in our townships. Like in the township, you know, that these plaza shops, majority of them are run by foreign nationals. We don't know who they are. One day you'll wake up, there's someone you like someone who's running the shop, you know. So it's very important that we do that. And so also education, I think this one around education, in that room where we were having our own watch party, we had a lot of students who are either dropouts, others were frustrated by the educational system when it comes to your technicons here in East London, taking too long to get out of the system due to corruption in the institution, and not necessarily that they're failing. And so they resonated well with that. And even I myself, I've been a victim of unemployment, being a graduate with honors and being unemployed for almost 2 years. And so, that for me, that was a very big topic for me, because being unemployed for 2 years, leaving Cape Town, coming home, and in East London, everyone knows, in fact, my Eastern Cape, corruption is rife. Yes. And so the options here are either to bribe for a job, or you have to sleep for a job. And I actually refused to do that. I was like, then why did I go and study? Why was I paying for all of these things to have to, you know, lower myself and really lose my values and my morals? And so all of us were really affected by this topic of education in so many different ways. And so them saying that young people want to work. You know, there's this thing of like, we're lazy. We're not lazy. We want to work. That's why we went to school. Even those that did not go to school, they do want to work. It's just that our system it's not really catering for, you know, the working field right now, like it's what do you call this thing of EPWPs? They're just throwing these EPWPs at a ward level to young people. The councils don't come in to check how many graduates do we have in our ward? What skill sets do we actually have here? So that they actually start coming with jobs that are relevant to their constituency in their wards. And so the education was definitely a big one, because it actually just speaks to education, and it goes into jobs.
I love it when I have interviews in terms of, we have a certain topic that we talk about, especially now we're doing Indoza Politico, which is a very sensitive topic. But ndithanda laa nto uba ngaba ke, I'm able to listen to you talking about how you were unemployed for 2 years. And I am thinking of umntana mhlambi osando graduate ngalo eli xesha, okanye ngumntana okudala efuna umsebenzi ehleli endlini, being frustrated and having to listen to this interview, in fact even watching it and being having thoughts of aibo, u-6 lakhs ukhona wayehleli 2 years, and the unemployment I can understand. It comes with frustrations, it comes with into demands and mental health. Now to have umntu onjengawo, telling us your own story, it's not even into zawuthi you've never been through it, but you know exactly what they're going, it's not just stats, like you are part of it. So having you to be a mouthpiece abantu abanjengathi, just being there for me personally, I just had to know to banga again ndiyayithanda laa nto uba nawo sixelele ngawo, so that we know what we're definitely getting ourselves into. When it comes to Rise MZANTSI, we know that 2024 is definitely our 1994, and it is definitely. Now, as an attendee of the watch party, how would you describe the atmosphere as well as the engagement during the live streaming, as well as did you feel a sense of connectivity, connection with other viewers, to be exact? What did you contribute in terms of sharing the understanding of Manifesto's message?
Okay. It was electric, actually.
I love the word you've used.
It was electric. We were so excited. So we were a combination of new people. So we've got new volunteers and supporters there. And then there's the people that were actually there from the onset. And so this combination of us there's people who don't really know what to expect. And then you've got these people that kind of like, okay, we've got an idea, but now we need to hear it.
Yes.
We need to confirm that they're really right. The things that we actually spoke on when we went to the people's convention. And so it was electric. I was so excited. I remember there were moments when we were just like high-fiving. we didn't even need to talk. The moments where everyone was just quiet at some point. We were just like, listen. And then like, oh, yeah, on point. Everyone's clapping. Everyone is in it. So yeah, it was really like, it was refreshing for once in politics. That speaks to us. Yeah.
Now, I love, these questions in terms of were there any other concerns, in fact, other questions that arose during the watch party with regarding the manifesto, or even other proposals?
Not necessarily questions, but I think through discussion, that's when the point of corruption, people not actually being able to finish their studies, it came out through after the manifesto when we were just discussing it. Because I think the manifesto in general did touch on all the issues that are affecting us as young people. And so, and I think that it touched on all of them because, once again, they listened to us. They went into the community. So that the language they spoke in the manifesto was actually informed by the ground. It was informed by communities. And so this issue of corruption is definitely a serious one that we do need to rise for, where students actually write exams and they get absent from exam from the institutions. And so now that means that child needs to register for another year. They need to find a place to stay or have to transport themselves to school. And yet we have a lot of young people dropping out due to not having funds to actually just get to school. I work with young people at a youth center, and I'm dealing with those people on a daily basis right now. And right now we've also got a very high high school dropout rate, where we've got young girls dropping out in grade 8. And that means we've got a lot of young people in our generation now that have grade 7 as the highest qualification. What generation are we going to have as parents in the next 10 years? Because these people are not just sitting in jail. They're actually having kids. Their lives are going on. They're drinking. They're doing whatever. But they're a burden. And again, we also have the issue of people depending on your grant. They make up the majority of the people, and yet the minority that is actually employed has to support this majority that is actually staying unemployed. So yeah, definitely it it was around the topic of just education and just as issues as within our institutions of higher learning in the Eastern Cape. And I think accommodation, it's something that really does need to be addressed, because when you can't afford to go to my Cape Town, or sometimes about passing at that point to say, universities, they need to go to a technical. And so as Zikoyo Apa, issue accommodation for Apa around East London.
Now, my next question is specifically based on considering, the emphasis on public participation, specifically within the manifesto. Do you feel more empowered to engage within the political process after attending the watch party, as well as how do you think increased public involvement can shape a better future for the Eastern Cape?
All right. So my background is in politics. I've always been active in that space, and I've always advocated for civic education. My studies are also in that. And so it's nice to see an organization that's actually honoring that element of increasing public participation. And it's going to take time. People need to gain our trust. So it's not a touch and go situation. You really need to be there. We need to be consistent and really deliver on the things that we say we're going to do. And so increasing public participation is really going to be beneficial for our communities. And I don't like to speak on South Africa as a whole, because our South Africa is made up of communities.
Yes.
If we address our communities, we've addressed the nation. Public participation is very important. And young people need to know that, because if you ask a young person, hey, are you registered to vote? For what? Why? And you look at these people, you're like, what do you mean? Right now, we're sitting on last elections, 12 million people actually voted, 40 million registered to vote but did not vote, and then 40 million did not vote, did not even register. So you've got 28 million people that did not participate, and 12 million people made a decision on our behalf. And so it's important that we actually do encourage public participation. It will definitely improve our processes with our how we deal with our local governance on a what level also, because in ward councils, they do as they please. They don't come to us and ask us, what do we need? Where are we here? We don't know them. For instance, if I tell you now, I stay in Ward 17. Every program I've tried to bring into my immediate community where I stay, I haven't been able to do that with the ward councillor. I had to go to another ward councillor in Ward 14. Other ward councillors know me. That's the funny thing. Like, they know me. I work well with them, and so it's just a typical example of, hey, we really need to fix this thing. And the ward councillor, it must be someone who is actually employed based on merit and not just popularity. Yes. On merit, we must see what work you've done. Also, do you meet the requirements of being a councillor? Because the councillor is someone that's going to go stand for you in local parliament and actually cast votes on our behalf. So do they understand that system? Do they understand that game of numbers also, okay, in that space?
Most definitely. There is a sound bite, in fact, that I quickly want to play. It's actually clips that we've actually made in what we're talking about, so that you even get a sense of what the watch party was all about.
This is actually the first time that I hear something that is practical, that is doable, and it's just not a bag full of promises. I think this is probably the only way that we are going to get out of the situation we're currently in. There's nothing unrealistic about the manifesto. It's down to earth, very basic, very doable, and what I like about it the most, that it's actually coming from the people. They made the trouble to go throughout the country and actually listen to ordinary people on the ground. Real issues, not something that was dreamt up somewhere in an office. And they've dealt with all of it, one by one. And that's what I like about manifesto, and I think it's doable, it's practical, it can work, and I think it will convince people to vote for it. My name is Dr. John Rust.
Oh, today to hear our leader touching on izinto that affect us as a communities. I-manifesto yanamhlanje yenze ukuba ndizive ndiyi-leader. Indenze ndaziva namhlanje into yoba kubalulekile into yoba sonke sithathe inxaxheba ngokule i-South Africa. There is no other way we have to save South Africa by being involved in anything eyenzekayo. Ube mnandi kakhulu, especially when he touches on kwinto ezichaphazela abazali, ezichaphazela iSouth Africa as a whole, nezinto esithi ngoku sizibona ezenzekayo in this country, ezineglectwayo ngurhulumente weli xesha, esibona thina into yoba ngokubalulekile into yoba makube khona utshintsho lwe-leaders. So indivise kamnandi kakhulu. Yes. Igama lam ndinoMpumelelo Chaka.
Abantu that were there and were listening, because you can actually hear the conversation again. Ngomzali ovele nje wacaphula here and there, but from the get-go bebemamele beve kakuhle. But just before, I give you my next question, we have Ubuhlali Buzali coming in and said, okay, you're so right, Lux. Ward councillors should be elected based on merit. We should be able to see their track record of leadership. Kungavele kufakwe nje. Thank you so much, Buhlali, for joining us. And also he's part of Horizon MZANTSI. As I did mention that my next question, based also with the sound bites that I've just played, were the diverse perspectives as well as opinions expressed amongst the attendees during the watch party. How do you see these varied viewpoints contributing to a more inclusive as well as a respective political landscape at Eastern Cape?
So these viewpoints, it's very good for us, because remember, we're a new political organization and people are just like, hey, no, there's another one mushroom, and so I think having those genuine views and just really listening to people. I even had people that were in Joburg, even myself, who attended there because they've been seeing us, really promoting Rise MZANTSI, and even their views were like, hey, I genuinely liked it, and right now I'm really leaning towards it because it's realistic. They're not just howling, it's just not those politic games, and that they are really genuine about the issues of the people. And so these people are down to earth. These people that are reachable. Security guards, everyone is accessible, and so. And I think that's very important for us to make sure that leadership is accessible on every level. Yeah, well, so in general, for the public, as they see Rise Kula, they're gonna really gain trust in us, because it's ordinary people doing ordinary work and really being that mouthpiece. Because to be part of Rise, must be very brave in the Eastern Cape. That's just a fact. Yes. You must be brave. And for me, we're just young people about Nomsindo, and if we don't stand up for Il Pondo, who else is going to stand up for us?
I want to quickly get to know you. You spoke about working with young people, which is something that I'm highly for. Tell me about some of the challenges that you faced with working with Abantu Batsha.
Okay, so currently I work in a program in a basic package of support. So this program actually focuses on young people that we actually categorize as needs. So they're not in employment, they're not in education or any type of training. So they're mostly dropouts. And so we are really trying to reignite that sense of agency. Because when they come in, they really like, is it just another workshop? Is it just, so because and direction, they lack a lot of guidance. Parents are not present in young people's lives, and so we're really dealing with the generation in Jalo of they're really hopeless, they're fatigued, and so the work we do there is to help them with CVs. We help them with job applications, applications for school. Some of them, because they drop out, we do redirect them to institutions of higher learning or even community learning centers. We've got one that's right next door to us. It's a Sicilian Makiwane. So we try and help them as much as we can, and we find the resources that are actually local. So young people mostly do lack a lot of awareness about the services that are actually around them. And so once they know, they start, making use of them. So ours is to make sure that they know about these services and we guide them through a process level.
Amazing. I definitely wanted to find out more about that. Mhlambi ke kukhona umphulaphuli omncinci ngaleli xesha ofuna ukwazi uba ngabe u-6 lakhs wenza ntoni, mhlambi ndingadibana naye njani. Also, if you've also just joined the conversation once again, as I did mention, uba ngabe ke on Wednesdays we do radio according to Rise MZANTSI isimazi uba ngabe ke it's one of the greatest political parties. Loving how u-6 lakhs mentioned uba ngabe it's not, yes, abantu bathi ke i-political party sandofika ngoku izakwenza utshintsho olunjani, of which those are questions that I personally know uba soze singabuzwa ngabahlali ngoba ke even if it's any business or any company, we want to find out uba ngaba ke nizakwenza ntoni ngomphumo ehluke nizawumenza bekhe wenziwa mhlawumbi ngabanye. Other people have promised us so many things. What is it that you want to do differently? And also knowing uba ngaba ke the leader for Rise MZANTSI is Mr. Sangezo Sibi. Umnandi ke uba phakathi of Rise MZANTSI ngoba ke there's so many young people that are working there and they are the mouthpieces as they were able to deliver messages that we've always wanted to deliver. But at times we find that the older generation sinale tendency yokuthi but they don't understand us. But now having umntu omncinci okwazi ukuthetha naye is who is actually going to be able to deliver that message is really amazing. And I have to say once more again, kudos to Rise MZANTSI for having such volunteers as Ulax, Ezuko, being within. Almost wrapping it up, I want to find out, in fact, in conclusion, what message or feedback would you like to convey to those responsible for the Rise MZANTSI movement, as well as how can they further enhance community engagement, as well as ensuring that the concerns and hopes of ordinary citizens are effectively addressed. Over to you.
All right, I love your last question. Why? Because so our biggest thing in Rise MZANTSI, we've got this thing called microactions. So when we say we're the ones that we've been waiting for, we are the ones that are actually leading the change we want to see. So we lead it from the ground. So I can't necessarily just say that we want the leadership to do this. Now we take full responsibility of how our communities work. Holding those people that are in power accountable, directly accountable. So I think for now, Rise MZANTSI is doing well. Our leadership has really done well in allowing us to determine, how we turn the tide in our different communities across South Africa. So yeah, that's the message I have.
Most definitely. And when Ampulapuli, what you need to do in terms of actually finding them on social media. In fact, all over, just search Rise MZANTSI Galapagos Sabafonacon, and also specifically Uti Eastern Cape Pago Facebook. If you're from you cannot actually even check what other provinces are up to. But at the same time, they are one. Loved how also last week she mentioned you've also worked with Movement SA to be exact. And Landitiba, you're able to work with anyone who is willing to work with you and wanting the same goal. 2024 is definitely on 1994. Just before we close it, your last words.
My last words, thank you so much for your time. And so I'd just like to ask for young people to really consider registering to vote. Go out of your way to really, find what do the different political organizations stand for, rather than just letting people make a decision on your behalf, because the people that are now in leadership, they will not be here to account to our kids when we find ourselves in the Zimbabwe situation. And so we have the power to turn that tide around for our generation and our kids. Thank you.
And also, before we let you go, where can we find you on social media if we want to follow you when specifically Lux?
So on Instagram, I am LUXOLO_BILLIE, and on Twitter, I am LuxBillie, or you can say Owase Azania.
Love it, love it, love it. And also, once more again, thank you to everybody who joined the conversation. And all I can say is that we will see Rise MZANTSI kwakhona. But for now, make sure that you do catch us if you can. But we're still continuing the show up until Meetings and Start. But for now, it's definitely ended saying Bangabage 2024 is our